Hello, dear YouTube viewers. I hope you're doing well. Okays, let's start our video. Daniel dragged himself home after another long shift, his back aching and his shoes so worn that the soles barely held together. The hallway lights in their small apartment flickered, and the rent notice pinned to the door reminded him of the bills he still hadn't paid. Inside, the place was cramped but filled with warmth. The couch had a tear covered by an old blanket. The dining table leaned slightly on one side, and the wallpaper was faded. But Lily's laughter made it feel like the happiest place in the world. Lily, with her messy ponytail and wide smile, ran to him and hugged his waist. She chattered about her day at school, her excitement bubbling over as if she didn't notice her father's exhaustion. Daniel listened intently, nodding and smiling, even though his body begged for rest. He took pride in being there for her, giving her what truly mattered: love, safety, and guidance. He often wondered if the world even saw him, a man working quietly, unnoticed, carrying struggles alone. But when Lily looked at him as if he were her hero, he felt rich in a way no paycheck could measure. He didn't know that soon, one act of courage would change everything. Daniel decided to surprise Lily with a small treat after a tough week. They walked into a modest diner tucked between old shops, the kind of place with cracked leather booths and the smell of coffee lingering in the air. Lily's eyes lit up when she spotted pancakes on the menu, and Daniel couldn't resist her excitement. They laughed together as she drowned hers in syrup, and he teased her about how sticky her fingers would get. At the next booth sat a woman unlike the usual diner crowd, mid-30s, poised, her tailored coat neatly folded beside her. She seemed out of place, yet comfortable. Her name, though Daniel didn't know it yet, was Evelyn. She ate quietly, her presence calm, until a sudden cough turned into something far more serious. Within seconds, Evelyn was choking. Forks clattered, a few people gasped, but no one moved. Without hesitation, Daniel rushed to her side, pulling her up and performing the Heimlich maneuver. After 2 tense thrusts, the lodged piece flew free. Evelyn bent forward, coughing, her face flushed with both fear and relief. She looked up, eyes glistening, meeting Daniel's steady gaze. For a moment, time stilled, grateful stranger and reluctant hero bound by fate. Evelyn straightened herself, still shaken but determined not to let the moment pass. "You just saved my life," she said, her voice soft yet insistent. "Please, let me thank you properly." Daniel shifted awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. Really, it was nothing. Anyone would have done the same. "Not everyone," she replied firmly, her eyes lingering on him with quiet gratitude. Before Daniel could argue further, Lily piped up, her natural curiosity shining through. "Are you okay now, lady?" she asked sweetly. Evelyn smiled, kneeling slightly so she was level with the little girl. "Thanks to your brave dad, I'm perfectly fine. What's your name?" "Lily," she beamed proudly. "Daddy says pancakes make everything better." Evelyn laughed, charmed by her innocence. For a brief moment, her elegant composure softened into something warmer, more human. As the conversation flowed, Daniel remained modest, trying to wave off Evelyn's insistence. But while he distracted Lily with a napkin to wipe the syrup off her chin, Evelyn quietly signaled the waiter and paid their bill in full. Before leaving, she slipped a sleek business card onto the table and looked Daniel in the eye. "If you ever need anything, call me." Daniel tucked it away, not realizing whose name he held. Back home, after Lily had settled with her homework, Daniel pulled the sleek card from his wallet and read the name printed in bold letters: Evelyn Hartwell. It sounded familiar, though he couldn't place it at first. Curiosity got the better of him, so he opened his old laptop and typed her name into the search bar. In seconds, article after article filled the screen. Headlines about billion-dollar deals, philanthropic ventures, and her position as CEO of Hartwell Enterprises, one of the largest corporations in the country. There were photos of her at charity galas, standing beside politicians, and appearing on magazine covers. Daniel leaned back in disbelief, a wry chuckle escaping him. The elegant woman he saved at a diner wasn't just wealthy. She was one of the most powerful people in the nation. He shook his head, muttering, "Of all people, I save a billionaire from choking on a piece of food." He tossed the card onto the counter, certain it had no place in his world. "We'll never see her again," he said aloud, almost convincing himself. But Lily, sitting cross-legged on the couch, looked up with a smile. "I don't know, Daddy. She seemed really nice. Maybe she'll come back." Her words lingered longer than he expected. A week slipped by, and Daniel had nearly convinced himself the diner encounter was just a strange but passing memory. Then his phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. Hesitant, he answered, and nearly dropped the phone when a familiar voice greeted him. "Daniel, this is Evelyn Hartwell. I hope I'm not disturbing you." His throat tightened. For a moment, he thought it was a prank, but she continued warmly. "I was hoping you and Lily might join me for lunch. It would mean a lot." Against his nerves, he agreed. The following afternoon, Daniel and Lily stepped into a grand restaurant, the kind he'd only ever seen in magazines. Chandeliers sparkled overhead, waiters moved with silent grace, and menus had no prices listed. Daniel felt painfully out of place, tugging at his worn jacket, but Lily's excitement kept him steady. Then Evelyn appeared, radiant yet disarmingly approachable. She greeted them both as though they belonged there, drawing them into easy conversation. She thanked Daniel again, her gratitude unwavering, but she spent much of the meal listening to Lily chatter about school and dreams. When Evelyn gently asked about Daniel's life, he skillfully steered the talk away, keeping his struggles hidden behind a humble smile. Evelyn's invitation slowly pulled Daniel and Lily into a world they had only ever glimpsed from afar. One evening, she insisted they accompany her to a charity gala, assuring Daniel it would be fun, and nothing too formal. But the moment they stepped into the glittering ballroom, Daniel felt the weight of every stare. Crystal chandeliers lit the room like daylight, gowns shimmered, and polished shoes clicked across marble floors. Daniel adjusted the only suit he owned, threadbare at the cuffs, and kept close to Lily, who marveled at the decorations with wide-eyed wonder. Whispers floated around them, subtle but cutting. "Who's he? Not exactly her type. Looks out of place." Daniel's face burned, but he kept silent, focusing on Lily's hand in his. Evelyn, however, noticed. When one particularly smug guest remarked under his breath, Evelyn turned sharply, her voice cool but commanding. "This man saved my life. He deserves more respect than most people in this room." The comment silenced the whispers, though Daniel still wished he could disappear. Yet Evelyn's unwavering defense touched him deeply. As she watched him later, patiently cutting Lily's food at the lavish dinner table, Evelyn realized he carried a dignity and devotion unlike anyone she had ever known. Evelyn surprised Daniel one Saturday by suggesting she come to their place instead of another outing. He hesitated, embarrassed by the thought of her stepping into his cramped apartment, but she insisted with a smile. When she arrived, Lily rushed to greet her, tugging her straight to the small living room where board games were stacked on a wobbly shelf. They played together on the worn rug, Lily's laughter filling the air as Evelyn lost at snakes and ladders for the third time in a row. Daniel watched, torn between amusement and discomfort, noticing how out of place Evelyn's elegant presence seemed against their peeling wallpaper and sagging couch. He muttered an apology about the place, but Evelyn only shook her head. "I think it's perfect," she said sincerely. "It feels real." For the first time, Daniel noticed something beneath her polished smile, a quiet loneliness. She mentioned her parents had passed, that her success often left her surrounded by people who wanted favors, not friendship. That evening, as they shared takeout on mismatched plates, the air felt warm and easy. Evelyn wasn't a billionaire CEO in that moment. She was simply a woman finding comfort in the home of a father and his daughter. Evelyn could tell Daniel's life wasn't easy, and one afternoon she casually suggested, "If there's ever anything I can do to make things simpler for you or Lily, just say the word." Daniel stiffened immediately. "I appreciate it, really," he said firmly. "But we'll manage. We always do." Pride tightened around him like armor. The idea of accepting charity felt humiliating. Evelyn nodded, understanding the line she could not cross. Instead, she found subtle ways to help without making him feel indebted. She offered Lily a scholarship through her foundation for a local art program, describing it as a special opportunity she had been offering to kids she admired. Daniel's heart clenched. He wanted to refuse, but the offer wasn't charity. It was a gift for Lily, framed as a reward for her talent. Over time, he noticed a pattern. Evelyn wasn't trying to buy his affection or ease his struggles directly. She was giving them choices, opportunities, and dignity. At night, Daniel lay awake, wrestling with admiration and insecurity. He loved her warmth and generosity, yet felt painfully unworthy of her world. Meanwhile, Evelyn reflected on him, impressed by his integrity and unwavering devotion to Lily, a rare strength that no wealth could replicate. After dinner one evening, Evelyn suggested a walk along the quiet streets near Daniel's apartment. The night air was crisp, carrying faint city sounds, and the dim glow of streetlights made everything feel intimate. Daniel kept his hands in his pockets, uneasy yet drawn to her presence. Evelyn walked beside him, her elegant posture softened by a warm, approachable smile. They spoke of small things, Lily's latest school project, their favorite books, and memories from childhood. Yet beneath the conversation, a subtle tension lingered. Daniel felt a flutter in his chest every time Evelyn laughed, but fear held him back. What if she only saw him as a poor man, unworthy of her world? Evelyn, too, hesitated. Her heart stirred, but she worried about people loving her for her wealth rather than her person. Still, every act of Daniel's kindness, every protective glance at Lily, reassured her that his intentions were genuine. Back at the apartment, Lily plopped down on the couch with a mischievous grin. "Daddy, you like Evelyn, don't you?" she teased innocently. Daniel froze, cheeks warming, while Evelyn laughed softly, eyes twinkling. That playful comment planted a seed neither of them could ignore. A few days later, Daniel noticed flashes outside his small office window. Curious, he stepped outside to see photographers hovering, cameras clicking, and a crowd murmuring. Headlines on social media labeled him a mystery man, spotted with Evelyn Hartwell. Comments mocked him mercilessly. Poor single dad chasing a billionaire. What's he even doing with her? Humiliation washed over him. The world he had always navigated quietly now seemed to ridicule him for daring to step into Evelyn's life. He returned home, chest tight, and made a difficult decision. For Lily's sake, he needed to distance himself. He avoided Evelyn's calls and texts, citing his busy schedule, though the real reason was fear. Fear that the scrutiny and gossip would harm the little bubble of normalcy he had worked so hard to maintain. Evelyn, on the other hand, was confused and hurt. She reached out, only to find Daniel pulling away, polite but distant. She understood his protective instinct and his pride, but a question lingered. Could two people from such different worlds ever truly belong together? Or was love alone not enough to bridge the gap? That evening, she sat by her office window, staring at the city lights, contemplating the delicate balance between love and society's judgment. After weeks of juggling two jobs and endless responsibilities, Daniel collapsed at home, shivering and weak. Lily's panicked cries brought him to the couch, where he struggled to catch his breath. She insisted he go to the hospital, but Daniel stubbornly refused, convinced he could push through it. By the time they arrived, a nurse insisted he be admitted immediately. While Daniel wrestled with embarrassment, a familiar presence appeared, Evelyn, her elegant coat draped over her arm, standing calmly beside the hospital bed. "I called ahead," she said softly. "I wanted to make sure you'd get proper care." Daniel stared, stunned. You didn't have to." "I wanted to," she replied simply, her eyes full of sincerity. She stayed quietly, chatting with Lily and making sure Daniel was comfortable, offering support without ever treating him as helpless. As Daniel lay in the sterile room, he felt something shift inside him. For the first time, he realized Evelyn's care wasn't about pity, charity, or her wealth. It was genuine. Love, quiet but real, was reaching him. Later, at home, Lily tugged at his hand. "Daddy, please don't push her away. She's nice and she likes us." Daniel nodded, feeling the walls he had built around his heart beginning to crack. Weeks of silence had stretched between them, each passing day heavy with unspoken emotions. Evelyn finally arrived at Daniel's modest apartment, her expression serious but tender. "We can't keep avoiding this," she said gently. "I don't care about status, money, or appearances. I only want someone real in my life, Daniel's chest tightened. He had feared this moment, worried she might see him as unworthy, a man too ordinary for her extraordinary world. But hearing her words, something inside him shifted. His walls began to crumble, and he spoke with a raw honesty he had never allowed himself. I've always admired you, Evelyn, he admitted, voice trembling. Not for your money or success, but for who you are. And I've been afraid I'll never belong in your world. Evelyn stepped closer, taking his hand in hers. Daniel, I don't see a poor man. I see the man who saved my life, the man who makes Lily laugh, the man who showed me what courage and love really mean. Their eyes met, and the air between them seemed to hum. Slowly, almost hesitantly, they leaned toward each other. Their lips met in a gentle, heartfelt kiss, a moment of connection, of vulnerability, and of beginnings. News of Evelyn's relationship with Daniel reached her board of directors quickly. During a high-stakes meeting, stern faces and pointed questions dominated the room. He's inexperienced, unrefined, a liability, one executive argued. Others nodded, concerned about public perception and the potential impact on company reputation. Meanwhile, gossip spread through social circles and social media. Headlines mocked the pairing, and Daniel felt the sting of judgment from every angle. He questioned himself, wondering if he truly belonged in Evelyn's world. The thought of being a burden, or of holding her back, gnawed at him. He considered stepping away, telling Evelyn it was best if they parted ways. Perhaps she deserved someone from her world, someone without financial struggles or societal judgment. But Evelyn was resolute. She confronted the board, her voice steady and unwavering. I choose love over appearances. Daniel is more than enough. His integrity, kindness, and courage are what matter. Hearing her stand so firmly, Daniel's heart swelled. In that moment, he realized he could no longer let fear dictate his actions. Love wasn't about wealth, status, or approval. It was about connection, trust, and choosing each other. He knew he had to fight for them, together. With Evelyn's unwavering support, Daniel finally allowed himself to step fully into their relationship. They no longer hid their connection, greeting each other publicly, attending events together, and sharing laughter in ways that drew both admiration and whispers. Daniel felt a quiet pride in standing beside her, not as someone lesser, but as a partner with his own strengths. He learned to shift his focus away from what he lacked and toward what he brought to their lives: love, honesty, loyalty, and the simple joys of being a devoted father. Evelyn noticed the transformation, admiring his courage to embrace his worth without shame. Lily, too, flourished in the new dynamic. Evelyn became a guiding presence in her life, teaching her about art, reading bedtime stories, and sharing laughter over board games. For the first time, Evelyn felt the warmth of a real family, the closeness, the little routines, and the unconditional love she had longed for despite her wealth. Together, Daniel and Evelyn faced criticism from outsiders, but their bond only strengthened. Every whispered judgment and sideways glance became a testament to their resilience. Love, they realized, wasn't about social standing or approval. It was about trust, care, and choosing each other every day. A few weeks later, Daniel, Evelyn, and Lily found themselves back at the little diner where it all began. The familiar smell of coffee and syrup filled the air, and the cracked leather booths seemed just as cozy as they remembered. But this time, the mood was different, light, joyous, and full of warmth. Evelyn waved away any hesitation about the menu. "Tonight we're celebrating," she said with a smile, insisting they order freely, without worrying about cost. Pancakes, eggs, waffles, and even a slice of chocolate cake found their way to the table. Lily squealed in delight, her eyes sparkling with happiness. Daniel laughed, shaking his head. "So this is what it takes to get a feast? Saving a billionaire's life." Evelyn leaned across the table, her gaze soft but firm. "You didn't just save my life," she said. "You gave me a reason to live it fully." In that moment, Daniel realized their worlds, so different in every other way, had merged in the best possible sense. Their love, unexpected and improbable, had created a new family. And as they laughed, shared stories, and held hands across the table, it was clear that true worth wasn't measured in money or status, but in courage, kindness, and the depth of the heart. Thanks for watching. For more videos, please subscribe our channel.